In the bustling village of Umuoma, preparations for Christmas were in full swing. The air was alive with the rich aroma of freshly baked bread, the sizzle of frying meat, and the chatter of excited villagers. Children ran about in new clothes, their laughter ringing out like bells. But in a small, dilapidated hut at the edge of the village, 12-year-old Obinna sat quietly, staring at his bare feet. The joy of the festive season felt like a world away. Since the death of his father 2 years ago, life had been a constant struggle for Obinna's family. His mother, Neka, worked tirelessly as a cleaner, scrubbing compounds for wealthier villagers to earn a meager living. Even with her hard work, the money was never enough. Obinna had 2 younger sisters, Chism and Kamsi, who looked up to him with innocent eyes, trusting that their big brother could protect them from the harshness of their world. But this Christmas was different. The pangs of hunger gnawed at their bellies, and the thought of spending yet another holiday with no food or celebration was too much for Obinna to bear. He had watched other children in the village boast about the chickens their parents had bought for Christmas, the new clothes they would wear, and the gifts they would receive. His heart ached for his sisters and his mother, who deserved to feel the joy of the season like everyone else. As the sun dipped below the horizon on Christmas Eve, Obinna made a decision that would change his life forever. He would steal a chicken from the market. It was a desperate act, but he reasoned that he had no other choice. It wasn't for himself, it was for his family. The next morning, Obinna set out for the market, his heart pounding with both determination and fear. He wandered through the crowded stalls, his eyes scanning the chickens tied up in rows. The vendors shouted, advertising their goods, and the air buzzed with the excitement of last-minute shoppers. Obinna spotted a plump white chicken tied to a post near a vendor who was momentarily distracted. His hands trembled as he reached out, his heart racing like a drum. In one swift motion, he untied the chicken and tucked it under his arm, weaving through the crowd as quickly as his legs could carry him. But luck was not on his side. "Thief! Thief!" a voice bellowed behind him. The vendor had seen him. In seconds, the bustling market turned into chaos. People shouted and pointed as Obinna ran, clutching the squawking chicken. His small legs couldn't outrun the angry crowd. A strong hand grabbed him by the collar, and he was yanked to a stop. "Where do you think you're going, you little thief?" a burly man barked. The crowd surrounded him, their faces contorted with anger. "Let's teach him a lesson," someone shouted. "This is what happens to thieves." Obinna's heart sank as he saw a man pick up a long cane. He closed his eyes, bracing for the first strike. "Stop," a commanding voice rang out. The crowd parted as a tall man in an expensive-looking agbada stepped forward. His presence was authoritative, his deep-set eyes scanning the crowd with a mixture of disappointment and empathy. "What is going on here?" the man asked, his tone calm but firm. "This boy stole a chicken," the burly man explained, holding Obinna up by his arm like a captured trophy. The tall man looked at Obinna, who was trembling, tears streaming down his dusty cheeks. "Put him down," he said. "But sir, he's a thief," someone protested. "I said, put him down." The man's voice was steady, leaving no room for argument. Reluctantly, the burly man released Obinna. The boy fell to his knees, clutching the chicken as though it were his lifeline. The man knelt beside Obinna, his voice softening. "Why did you steal the chicken, my boy?" Obinna looked up, his lips quivering. I wanted to give my mother and sister something to eat for Christmas," he stammered. "We don't have anything. My father is dead, and my mother works so hard, but it's never enough." The man's expression softened further. He saw the desperation in Obinna's eyes and the sincerity in his voice. "Come with me," he said, extending a hand. Obinna hesitated but then placed his small hand in the man's. Together, they walked away from the crowd, leaving the market behind. The man led Obinna to a quiet corner of the village, away from prying eyes. He sat the boy down and asked him to tell his story. "My father was a farmer," Obinna began, his voice trembling. "He worked hard, but when he got sick, we couldn't afford to take him to the hospital. He died 2 years ago. Since then, my mother has been doing everything she can to take care of us, but the money she earns is so little, just 1,000 naira for a whole day of work. My sisters are too young to understand, but I see how tired my mother is. I just wanted them to have something this Christmas, like everyone else." The man listened intently, his face unreadable. After Obinna finished, he nodded. "Wait here," he said, rising to his feet. The man returned shortly, carrying bags of foodstuffs, new clothes, shoes, and 2 fat chickens. He handed them to Obinna, whose eyes widened in disbelief. "These are for you and your family," the man said. Obinna's hands trembled as he accepted the gifts. "Thank you, sir. Thank you so much," he said, his voice breaking with emotion. The man placed a reassuring hand on Obinna's shoulder. "Now, let's go see your mother." Obinna led the man to their humble home, a small, crumbling hut with a leaking roof and walls patched with palm fronds. Inside, Nneka sat on a low stool, peeling cassava with tired hands. Chisholm and Kamsi played quietly in a corner, their laughter subdued by hunger. When Nneka saw Obinna enter with the man and the bags, she froze. "Obinna, what is all this?" she asked, her voice a mix of confusion and worry. The man stepped forward and introduced himself. "My name is Mr. Olisa. I met your son at the market. He told me about your situation." Nneka's eyes filled with tears as Obinna explained everything, the theft, the crowd, and how Mr. Olisa had saved him. Mr. Olisa reached into his pocket and pulled out a bundle of crisp naira notes. He handed it to Nneka. "Here is 200,000 naira. Use it to take care of your family. And please, don't blame Obinna. He acted out of love." Nneka fell to her knees, her hands covering her face as she wept. "Thank you, sir. May the gods bless you abundantly. I don't know how to repay you." Mr. Olisa helped her to her feet. "You owe me nothing. Just promise me that you continue to raise your children with love and teach them the right path." That Christmas was the best Obinna's family had ever experienced. They feasted on the chickens, dressed in their new clothes, and for the first time in years, they felt the joy of the season. But Mr. Olisa's visit left a lasting impression on Obinna. He had learned a valuable lesson, that desperation can lead to wrong choices, but kindness and understanding can change lives. From that day on, Obinna vowed to work hard and never resort to stealing again. He dreamed of one day becoming a successful man like Mr. Olisa, someone who could help others in need. This story teaches that while desperation can push people to make poor choices, compassion and generosity can turn lives around. It also underscores the importance of honesty, hard work, and the value of helping those in need. True wealth lies in kindness and the ability to uplift others.